I've been trying to make my wallet fold all day. Cashing in my dreams, big payout. Underneath my money tree, big shade out. Now these models.
Hey freaking flies, welcome back to another video on the channel. I'm Brandon, I'm a guy who flies, sitting down to talk about my June schedule with you all. So, as you may have noticed, there have not been any flight attendant vlogs for a while because I am not flying right now. Loving the break. But I want to go ahead and talk about the schedule that I have for June. I planned my setup for my bid a little bit differently this month. Usually you all know I do it on a calendar and I'll like map out all the trips that I'm interested in, minus the days off and things that I need. But I did a little bit different because for June, I only needed Father's Day weekend off. My mom and stepdad, they always host this really big cookout on Father's Day weekend. So the plan was to go to that. I also have my god sister who was graduating that day. So the plan is just to go to Virginia for an extended weekend over the Father's Day like period, that weekend, like that Friday to that Monday. So that's the only date I needed off in June. So I set up my bid a little bit differently. So this time, what I did instead was I looked at each week. I went week by week. There were 5 weeks in the June bid period: week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. And then I just kind of wrote down, like, within each week, this is my first choice of a trip, second choice of a trip, third, fourth, fifth, so on. So that in each week, I kind of prioritized the trips that I would want. So that basically ended up with me bidding for, I want to say like 10 specific trips at the top of my bid for June. You all know those, it's seniority based, so you could get them, you couldn't get them, or you could not get them depending on how the people at the top bid. But let me tell you something that was a little bit different. So for June, we saw increased West Coast layovers. We haven't seen West Coast layovers in my base, Miami, in a long time. So there were San Francisco and San Diego layovers, quite a few of them for June. In addition to Hartford, Connecticut, we don't see that one a lot. And catch this, Norfolk, Virginia. So y'all know when I saw that Norfolk layover, I was like, oh yes, going after that one. So I bid for the West Coast layovers. Well, I should say I bid for trips with West Coast layovers, specifically in San Francisco. I've done San Diego a lot when I was Denver based, but I wanted San Francisco. And I also bid for a trip that had a Norfolk layover. And it was the kind of thing, like I mentioned in like my recap at the end of last year, like sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit. So I did sacrifice a little bit of credit just to get those layovers, but it will be worth it to just kind of lay over somewhere different that's like not Baltimore or Orlando or Atlanta. Like, please take me away from the East Coast. And then in addition to that, there was a ton of Houston layovers, so I also looked at trips that had Houston layovers. Outside of that, my bid was pretty simple. Y'all know I'm open to 4-day trips now, so 4-day trips, 3-day trips, then 2-day trips, and then at the very bottom of my bid sheet are turns, because that's the last thing I want. Always prioritizing trips that check in Miami versus Fort Lauderdale, because I don't want to drive up there. And then, like I said, I had my days off, which were the, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. So I submitted my bid like on Tuesday. They were due like on Wednesday. I submitted on Tuesday, and we got them on Saturday. So it was a quick turnaround this month, and let's go to it. Oops, that's the wrong thing, not here. All right, so if you remember, I have a carryover trip from May that goes into June. It has like a long Phoenix layover. But then I start on June 3rd. I have a 3-day trip. June 6th, another 3-day trip. Then I'm off from the 9th through the 12th, which is like a lot of union work for the like bidding assistance that I do. Then the 13th is a 4-day trip. Oof, come on, 4-day. Then I'm off the 17th through the 21st, so I got the Father's Day weekend off. You all know I have the seniority now, the days off that I want. Then on the 22nd, I have a 4-day trip, a day off. The 27th, we have a 3-day trip, followed by another 3-day trip on the 30th that would carry over into July. The credit looks pretty good. on these, except for that first 3-day trip. That one look a little, we're gonna swap it out if we see something better. But the rest of them have pretty average or high credit for them. We like 18-hour 3-day trips. That's what we like over here. In terms of layovers, I see Tampa, Philly, Boston, Hartford, Houston. Oh, that's a Houston hobby, and there's another Houston Intercontinental. I wonder if that's the same hotel or different. They're probably different. If y'all from Houston, let me know how far apart are those two airports, Hobby and Intercontinental. And I see Orlando. I got the trip with the Norfolk layover, so there's a Norfolk layover in here. I already said Orlando, so that's 1, 2 Orlandos, 3 Orlandos. Y'all know how we feel about Orlando. Here's a Philly, over Philly 2, and another Houston. So there's 1, 2, 3 Houstons and 3 Orlandos. Oh, Chicago. Is it a Midway or a O'Hare? This is the O'Hare layover. 2 different layovers. So yeah, in terms of the cruise, like y'all know I prefer to work in the front. I have a trip that's flying lead, up front in the cabin, lead, up front in the cabin, up front in the cabin. Ooh, Tracy on 2 of my trips. And this one of my trips is a 3-day, and I'm technically in the floater position, meaning I don't have one set crew. It varies from pretty much from flight to flight who my particular crew is. So I am the addition. Most of our trips are built for 4 flight attendants, and then on the plane that requires 5, that's a floating person. So I'll be floating from crew to crew on this particular trip, which I don't mind that position because you still work. It's on a 321, but you work and you sit in the cabin, which is not like my favorite, but it's still up front, so I'll handle it. You basically work mid cabin, and that's a really good trip. So I'm not getting rid of that one either. So that's that. Like, she looked good. She looked good. Let me see how many hours this is, because that I did not do. This is 100. So I asked for 110 hours, and I have 111 hours with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days off. I'll take it. There's still room to change, and there's still room to pick up, because if I wanted to pick up a turn on the 21st, I could. Well, no, we'll see anything that happened, but that's pretty much that. Drop down in the comments, let me know. I got 3 Houston layovers. You know, I haven't been to Houston since not New Orleans, Jesus. Since New Year's Eve. So drop down in the comments and let me know where I need to go in Houston, what is there to do. I'm glad I got daytime layovers, and I have some nighttime layovers, so please. Ooh, 25 hours in Houston, 21 hours in Houston, 25 hours in Houston. Yeah, Houston people, let me know what I need to do. But that's that. I'm Brandon, I'm the guy who flies, and I will see you all the next time.
Day goes by.